and welcome to this second Airfield briefing video for Flyer Club members. I'll be chatting shortly to Andrew Austin from Oaksey Park Airfield, and we'll be talking more about what is probably one of the most gorgeous airfields in the entire country. So stay tuned and we'll find out more. Andrew, can you hear me?
I can, yeah, all good.
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm getting a bit bored and I need a haircut and all that kind of stuff.
Me too.
I feel like I'm 13 again when it was cool.
The first question really is, what's changed at Oaksey? Has anything changed since people were flying in there last?
I mean, we've tried to keep everything pretty much the same as, so that when people do come back, you know, it's not, I think sometimes change isn't always the best thing. Sometimes when you sort of get it right, and I think for the most part we do, I think it's important to try and keep it all the same. And I think obviously there's good reason to change things, you know, with COVID and all that kind of stuff. But we try to keep it as close to our normal operation as possible. We try and keep everything pretty simple. You know, we don't do overhead joins, it's just downwind, and that works as A, it's for our noise abatement, and B, it's just keep it really, really simple. It's not so busy that you would need to do overhead joins, and we're not allowed to fly over the village on the other side, which would be, you know, the dead side. So because we don't do that, it wouldn't make any sense to do an overhead join, because you'd have to do it directly over the runway and you'd be in confliction with some of the juicier stuff that we've got based here that climbs pretty quickly. So we changed it all to join downwind. And we've got one main runway, 2204, which is 1,040 meters. It's a really, really good smooth runway. And then a sort of backup runway 3517, which is closer to about 750 odd meters.
Yeah, is that open for many people? Because I think I've used it once, but
yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, we're never on 35 or 17 purely because you can only land on 35 and take off on 17 because, again, of the village problem. So it's kind of like a backup. If someone specifically requests to land off, you know, it's not a problem at all. It's more just a case of it's not the easiest runway because, as you would have seen when you came on, it's a slope of trees one way.
Yeah.
So it's a reasonably high approach. It's an unusual approach, and there's also a house on one side, which does scare a few people. And having landed on myself, it looks pretty close when you're on the approach, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you actually stand in the middle, it's actually quite wide. But when you're flying towards it at, you know, 100 miles an hour, it definitely does feel a bit tight.
In terms of facilities, just talk us through what people can get there. So you've got fuel, you've got, you know, tea and coffee, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Does fuel need to be booked in advance?
No. And we've gone back to PPR now just because, particularly towards the end of the year, we were getting so busy with visitors, and we've got maybe 40 odd aircraft based here. We're limited on our movements. So to try and not be going over our movement limit all the time, we did go back to PPR just to try and keep it a bit more sensible. And with COVID as well, we'd like it to not have oodles of people turning up at once, just so everyone else has a bit of space. But no, we have a lovely clubhouse, which is always nice and warm. We've got the fire burning away. We have tea and coffee making facilities. Most of the time we'll do it for you. We have cold drinks and sort of light snacks. And we've just started doing our lovely selection of hot sausage rolls as well.
Oh, nice.
Which are really, really nice, that come from my girlfriend's company, Chelsea, because we do sort of mixed game type sausage roll. It's venison, or we do a game one as well, which is really nice, which is kind of a mixture of stuff. And a wild boar one as well, and they're absolutely fantastic.
Nice. I will have to drop in and try some of those then.
They are pretty good. And then, yeah, in terms of the fuel, we've got 200 LL Bowsers, so that you can drop in either by fixed wing or helicopters. We've got separate installations for both. And we also have a F-34, which is our jet fuel. We've gone for the bit with the antifreeze just because we occasionally deal with the air ambulance and military and things. So, yeah, we've got everything you could need. Obviously, we don't have MOGAS or anything like that. We just found it didn't sell particularly well.
Yeah. Okay. And then for people that are coming in and visiting who might want to get out and about and explore, what are the best ways for them to do that?
So under normal circumstances, when we're sort of running at 100%, we have a private car service. So you can get to the local restaurants and pubs and things like that. And we have some really, really good selection of locals as well, whether you just want like a regular pub meal or something quite casual and a round of golf, or we have another hotel restaurant, which is really, really top notch just around the corner. But we're also, we're in the Cotswolds, we have lovely walking. We've got Cirencester just around the corner. We're not too far from Bath and those kind of places if you want to get a taxi. So we're in a great location. Obviously, with the museum coming along as well, hopefully it won't be too long before we can get that up and running as well.
Yeah, so, can you tell us a bit more about that, actually, for the people that will watch this and don't necessarily know?
Yeah, so what we've been working on is putting all of our big collection of cars and vintage lorries, motorbikes, all that kind of stuff into, I suppose the actual thinking behind it was we had all this collection and we needed to do something with it. It was just in one of the sort of hangars that wasn't being used. So we were going to put up a building to kind of house it all. And we thought, well, if we're going to house it, we may as well also open it up so other people can enjoy the collection as well. We've probably got one of the biggest collections of antique Scammell lorries in the world. And we have enough to be able to change them out occasionally as well. We've got a big workshop in there as well. So stuff's constantly being worked on and refurbished, and we're trying to keep everything done as traditionally as possible. Dad, having been in the circus, has a huge knowledge of how these things should and would have looked back in the day when they're in use. So I know he spent a lot of his time over lockdown basically not in the house. He's been in his new shed pretty much 24/7.
We don't necessarily know what's going to happen this year, but have you got any events planned? Or,
to be honest, I've tried to not get too far ahead of ourselves on events and things, just because anyone who works in the aviation industry knows that kind of putting on events is such a huge amount of work. And even on a normal year, quite often, you can suffer with wind or rain on the day or anything like that. So we've just tried to just sort of take stock and see what happens. And if it does clear up, we'll definitely do a few things. Towards in between the first and second lockdown, we had a really successful helicopter flying. And we'll keep doing those kind of things as soon as we can get back to normal again.
Yeah. And in terms of based aircraft, what interesting things might people see when they come and visit?
We've got all sorts of stuff. Where do we start? We've got a lot of vintage aircraft. That's probably been one of the things I've focused on stocking up with. I personally have always liked vintage aircraft. They burn lots of fuel from a commercial point of view. I just don't think you can better being surrounded by that kind of thing. So we've got two Boeing Stearman, two Hornet Moths. We've got a selection of helicopters from mainly to do with our Red Kite, the helicopter maintenance facility. But there's all sorts of stuff, and there's usually stuff coming and going from maintenance as well. So there's always something different to see.
Yeah, good. So for people who are thinking about coming to visit, what would you say to them?
I think the special thing about Oaksey is the outlook. You'll struggle to find a prettier airfield anywhere in the UK. Everything's nice and simple. Everything's casual and laid back. I kind of designed the business around trying to make it feel a bit like it would have done, 30 or 40 years ago when there wasn't so much kind of red tape and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a nice kind of relaxed place to be able to fly into, grab some fuel, sit out on the veranda and have some lunch or whatever, have a stroll into the village. And that's just what I think what it should all be about. I mean, it's a hobby, so why do we want to make it so complicated? And I think aviation sort of shoots itself in the foot a lot in that way, and we've tried to stay as far away from that as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And are there any things that you think people need to be wary of, not necessarily at the airfield, but when they're in the area? Because I know you're very close to Kemble's circuit, so there can be conflict issues there, and Charlton Park as well.
Yeah, you definitely need to be aware of Kemble in particular. Obviously, everyone knows Kemble. It's a very busy airfield. I think particularly in the coming year or two, they'll be having more kind of big stuff going in there. They've worked really hard to kind of get that side of the business being more proactive, and they're setting up their new approach as well, which will be great for them. We've also got, Fairford and Bryce not too far away from us. There's no reason why I can't call them. Bryce are always fairly laid back as well, aren't they? They're usually pretty happy to give you a transit and all that kind of stuff. And as you mentioned, Charlton Park, they're getting busier. And it's not always mans there as well. So occasionally you can have people doing different things. So yes, it's definitely worth just being mindful of those things. And as I said before, definitely have a look at the kind of noise abatement and all that kind of stuff. That's really important, just to keep everyone on side.
What's your current fuel price?
It's 144 right at the moment.
Okay.
And that includes VAT.
Right.
It does look like the fuel companies are starting to put the prices up slightly now. We've had obviously quite a good few months now of quite fair prices. We particularly always try and come up with a nice cheap price, and we're usually one of the cheapest, certainly in the area. But and our jet fuel, again, it varies. It's all over the place, the price, and I think it will start to get a bit more volatile now. With what the prices do. Definitely, just the last few emails I've got, I think it's definitely going to start creeping up again, but we'll do our best to keep it on par.
Yeah, good. And if somebody wants to fly in early in the morning and leave later at night, do you have specific opening times, or can you be flexible for people leaving later?
So our general working hours are 9 to 5, which we try and avoid people leaving too early in the morning. Just again, we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and just annoy people when it's just not really necessary. Obviously, we can accommodate things when necessary. In the evening, again, we as I said, we close at 5, but we can organise to do things a bit later. Home-based aircraft fly, as long as it's sort of safe to do so. It's just visitors we don't take after 5 o'clock, because obviously everyone goes home, and I think it's just safer to run it that kind of way. But no, if people do want to do something different, then we're always happy to listen and see if we can organise something else. Good.
And have you got any plans for I think was it a log cabin?
Yeah, we've
been.
Yeah, it's one of those things I've been thinking about for a while, but I haven't sort of 100% got round to sorting it out. But it's a really nice idea. We have a log cabin here on our lake, and it's sort of set in probably 3 or 4 acres of land, and it's completely separated from the rest of the estate. So it's really, really nice. It's really quiet. It will be a really nice place for someone to stop for a night or two. So this year I'm hoping to get that online. And you'll be able to, have a barbecue out there, and you can order food that we can not cook for you, unfortunately, but we'll have stuff that you can order, like a package, and we can have it all ready for you and say marinated and that kind of stuff. So you can, take a barbecue out there and do that kind of stuff. And we'll also have something that I think would be quite exciting, is access to our private wine selection as well. Which comes straight out of our cellar in the main house here, and will be available for purchase for anyone who fancies that.
Sounds good. Excellent. Yeah. Well, you'll have to keep us up to date on what happens with that, so we can come and have a look sometime.
Yeah. No, we definitely. As soon as we get it up, we'll see if we can get the team down for a bit of a inspection
of the wine cellar.
Yeah. It might need to be a night stop.
I can walk home.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think people need to be aware of when visiting Oaksey?
Not really. I think, just be mindful of what you're doing. Give us a call beforehand, book in, and you can look on our website as well, www.oakseyparkairfield.co.uk. Everything you need to do is on there. Our phone numbers are on there and our emails are on there. If you have any questions, just give us a shout. We're friendly. We like to, speak to people and let them know what to do. And for the most part, people come in without any trouble whatsoever.
So I hope you found that interesting and helpful. Oaksey is a gorgeous place. It's in quite a busy location. So as Andrew was saying, you need to be wary of Kemble Circuit, Charlton Park, as well as other things happening around Fairford and Bryce Norton, and lots of traffic going up and down the Fossway between the areas of Stow-on-the-Wold, Kemble down to Bath. So it can be a very busy area. And also just be wary of the village to the north. We don't want to be upsetting the locals and giving Andrew any problems. So just keep a good eye on your charts. And if you are going to visit Oaksey Park, I wish you all the best. It's a gorgeous location and I'm sure you will absolutely love it. So stay tuned for more airfield briefing videos.